That's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of life, that is ever changing, is ever fresh. So today's topic is, oh, Irene, yes. Irene, I did not get a chance to recognize your heart. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Heart Space. Barbara, did I recognize your heart? Yes, I did. Okay. So today we wanted to discuss a little bit more about this beautiful part of our life, how to make this beautiful part of our life our life. Because when our heart space is only a part of our life, then what happens is we are only living a part of our life. We're not living a complete life. That's what the yoga texts, the wisdom texts are emphasizing over and over again and again. Please live the most fulfilled spiritual life. So in this tradition of bhakti, which is the tradition that I practice every day, is called the bhakti and Vedanta. Vedanta is the part where we are all about asking ourselves deep spiritual questions. Self-inquiry. It's called the method of positive self-inquiry. How to inquire about the self, to the self, by the self, and get answers from the self. And when we actually get to know the self, then we'll get to know our relationship with the Supreme Self. So this is the part that is the Vedanta side of our approach. And the Bhakti is the part where we are focused on understanding the depth that we have hidden secretly in our hearts. So today's meditation, or this week's meditation, has been about the importance of the right kind of association. And the space is the space that I'm going to cover today. Each and every one of us have relationships in this world with each other human beings, other species of life, with nature. And I also mentioned about our relationship with the different elements that we have. Sometimes when we are mindful and we are conscious and our awareness is supremely heightened, then we're able to appreciate every little thing in our life, and we are able to see divine in everything, in every circumstances, in every species of life. And that vision is accessible to each and every one of us, provided we live a fulfilled life, meaning living a life from the heart. So this spiritual heart that we have, we were discussing last week, is very much a big part that gets a little neglected sometimes. And so now we want to cover what is it that's causing this distance between us and our relationship to the divine and our relationship with ourselves. One of the meditation I have had is how difficult it is to have a relationship with yourself. There is a space that is required in order to have a relationship. Even the atomic molecules in the body, they have space between them so they can communicate. So all living beings must have some space in order to have a relationship, in order to communicate. It's hard to communicate if someone is right in front of your face. You're like, no, 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 back up. Let me, give me some space so that I can, And many times when we get frustrated with each other, we tell ourselves, I just need some space. Has anyone ever done that? That you're stuck with someone and you're like, hey man, I just need to take a breather. I need some space from you. And you may notice people do that to you as well, because that space is very much needed. And it's not an offense. They don't mean it in a mean way, but it is simply so that they can have a better outlook and reevaluate what is in between these two space. When two people are too close to each other, 24 hours you're with one another, and it gets a little much. And then you're like, okay, I need a vacation. You go vacation with your friends. I'm going to go with my friends. We need some time apart. And while we have time apart, we get to reevaluate and recalibrate. So this space that we're talking about is very important. What is it that we put in that space? Depending on what you put in that space between you and your relationship with anything or anyone, then that will determine the quality of life that you will be able to relish in your heart. Because heart needs its food. Heart needs something to open it up and experience higher accessibility to spiritual consciousness. That is what the heart is constantly seeking for. Higher value, higher quality of life, and higher access to the spiritual love. So the yoga explains that in this space, we have to first analyze and be very diligent in who and what we allow in our space. For example, the yoga explains how our mind is constantly being bombarded with so many distractions. Sometimes they call technology the weapon of mass distraction. I don't know where I heard that, but someone had mentioned that to me, the weapon of mass distraction. So what happens is that the mind is carrying all these distractions, and between our relationship with our heart and our mind, then what we have placed is a lot of distractions. So in our relationship with each other, you will notice when we ask for a breather, I need some space, we need to reevaluate what is the content of our relationship. It's very, very critical to analyze this. What is the content of this relationship that I have with my friend, with my parents, with my partner? So these are questions that we have to ask ourselves. What is the content? What are we placing in our relationship? And then the second is, what is our intention of this relationship? When we answer these two questions, the content and the intent that we put in the space between our relationship with each other, we will realize that there may be some work that we need to do. There may be something that we need to look a little deeper. So the yoga texts are explaining this principle that we are like beautiful crystals. You know what crystals are? I'm sure all of you know. Whatever you put next to a crystal, then whatever it is that you put next to the crystal, you will see the reflection in the crystal. Or just like imagine a beautiful, serene lake that is completely peaceful. There is no ripples. Whatever is on the bank of the river, if you start walking on the bank of the river, you'll notice your reflection is very vivid and clear in the lake. You can see everything very detailed. So the wisdom texts are explaining that this is how our life is formulated. The space, if we are not consciously putting what we want to be the content of the relationship, then whatever it is that we are close to, that will reflect upon us. So whoever we associate with, then we will become that person. So therefore, this principle of having the right content is something that we have to carefully choose in our practice of spiritual life. Then, analyzing a little bit deeper, you'll notice, even I remember when I was a young novice monk living in an ashram, I would often have this vision of the saints that we used to study about, like Dhruva. There was a king prince named Dhruva. He was 5 years old, and he attained enlightenment at the age of 5 years and 6 months. I wanted to be that child. And constantly in my mind thinking, how do I get to that place? How do I become enlightened at such a young age? So this was my constant meditation. And I remember my teacher making it very clear to me, if you want to be like Dhruva Maharaj, this great young enlightened prince, and Prahlad Maharaj, who was the other 5-year-old enlightened prince, and I was also only just 5. So those were my role models. And they would always emphasize this principle. If you associate with the right group of boys and the right association, you will become just like Dhruva Maharaj. You will become just like Prahlad Maharaj. You'll be able to see the divine in every situation, in every circumstances. And I remember I was jokingly asking my teacher, are you able to see the divine in all places and all circumstances, just like them? I don't know if he was serious or he was joking, but he mentioned to me that yes, I see God everywhere. And I said, okay, so what do you see now? And he explains, when we inhale this air, this oxygen, you smell it, it's really fresh. He goes, you know what is inside of this oxygen? What is inside of this oxygen molecule? And I said, no. He said, it is called a prana. It's called God in the form, the Sanskrit word called prana. So I am seeing God and experiencing God every moment that I inhale and exhale. And I was like, well, okay, this guy's getting a little too philosophical for me. You know, I was young. I just wanted to see something because for me, you know, seeing was everything. So this abstract concept. But later on, as I grow up and I start to realize, we see the world through a very unique lens. And that lens is the lens of the heart. And within those lens, there is this consciousness, spiritual consciousness. And when that spiritual consciousness is something that we cultivate and it becomes amplified, then we'll be able to see divine in each and every aspect of life, both existent and non-existent. And that is accessible through this association, this good Sangha. And that Sangha is something that we have to consciously choose to put in that space between who we are and who we are with, who we are and what we are with. And, and the sages are also recommending this deep principle of deep daily sadhana, deep immersion every single day. That you immerse yourself in the sanctuary of your heart. And when we immerse ourselves in the sanctuary of the heart, then everything that we see, everything that we connect with, that means you have placed the right content in between you and the world that we live in and the relationships that we have. So this was my primary meditation for today. And let me see, I think my time is up. Half an hour, yeah. I think we decided half an hour, right? Yes. So my time is up for my sharing. Maybe I'll just share one little tidbit. One last little tidbit. The difficulty that we have in putting the right content in the space in our relationship. There are 4 primary difficulties that we have, and you can write them down and you can analyze it for yourself as well, because the wisdom texts are giving us this obstacles that we face in putting the right content in that space of our Sangha. One is the restless mind. Yeah, I don't think that requires any explanation, because you all know what a restless mind is. Because something that never rests. And because it doesn't rest, it doesn't let you rest. It keeps you up at night, keeps you up during the day. Then the second is the stupefied mind. Stupefied mind. And the third is the distracted mind. These are the 3 obstacles in putting the right content in the space. And the 4th one is the one-pointed mind is what we need. Mind that is focused on the heart. And this also we study in the Bhagavad Gita. There is a very beautiful Sanskrit verse that explains this. I don't know, you want to hear what Sanskrit sounds like? The Sanskrit verse says, Vyavasayat mika buddhir ekeha kurunandana bahu shakha hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayana. Is Vyavasayatmika buddhi, means eka buddhi, when the mind is focused on one. And only such person, Bhagavad Gita explains, can attain peace. One whose mind is focused on one. When your mind is focused on your heart and your relationship with the divine, then that is where peace is accessible. And that's our recommendation. We have 3 obstacles and 1 objective, which is to be focused on one-pointed focus on the heart. and our relationship with the divine. So we have 3 obstacles that we can see and observe, and then the solution recommendation is given by the sages, where it says the importance of being focused in the heart. And as I always mention, your sadhana is the best way to have that one focus. Every day we feed our heart with the spiritual emotions, with the spiritual consciousness, constantly knocking on the doors of the heart to make sure that the heart keeps opening more and more and more, so that we can really, really see the world and let the light emanate from the heart so you can see things properly. Because as long as we are seeing with our eyes, we may become a little disappointed, a little disheartened. And the minute we start to see from our heart, there will be nothing but beauty and joy and unity, and you will see God in everything. So thank you so much for tolerating my half-an-hour rant. So Balaram, I know you're here somewhere. You mentioned.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So last week, Veda ji invited everyone to let each week a few people share their heart so we can hear different perspectives and give everyone a space in the heart space. So this week, we invited Liz and Luke to share. Liz, do you mind to share your personal takeaways, your reflections, whatever comes to your heart during this beautiful message Veda shared with us?
No, I don't mind at all. Thank you for the honor and the privilege. I'm hoping that my internet is connected well enough to have you guys hear me clearly. Can you guys all hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Great. Well, thank you. Wow. Relationships, space. That's a big one. So, and really coming back to the whole idea of this space and this Sangha. It's been life-changing for sure. I hit another bottom a while ago. I have a habit of digging out of a hole and then jumping back in, either the same hole or one right next to it. Self-sabotage is a big thread in my life when I get really close to where I know I deserve to be. And so with that, I reached out, found myself coming to yoga, and like most Westerners, coming to the practice of asana, coming to my mat, having that sort of physical experience. And in the process of learning more and more, actually not even realizing until after it had already happened, that physical practice was bringing me to not only connect with like-minded people, but also to a deeper level within myself. And I started to hear people share things like, we practice on our mats so that when we're off our mats, we can practice this in the world. And I thought, wow, that's so cool. I want some of that. And every once in a while, now that I understand what that means, or I'm understanding more and more what that means, every once in a while, I'm like, no, you can keep that. But it's such a blessed, beautiful journey. And I had the opportunity through a very difficult time with my stepdad having cancer. I had the opportunity to take some time off after he passed and do my yoga teacher training. And that's where really it grew and intertwined this idea of the 8 limbs of yoga, the philosophy. And it just started to build like a pebble in that beautiful lake, all of these awesome ripples, and an invite to a drumming circle on Hammonasset Beach with Veda and Keshavi and Nirvana and a bunch of people that I'd never met, in a beautiful fire ceremony that led to like day retreats at the Red Barn, with more time with these beautiful people who just were like-minded, who brought the same energy, brought the same things to a relationship of uplifting each other and myself. And then I started hearing about Food for Lives, and then someone's like, hey, you want to go to India? And I was like, yeah. And it all fell into place. And I feel like India was, again, this just cathartic moment with people from all over the world that Veda brought together to cultivate this like opening of my heart and so many hearts. And I'm not saying you have to go to India in order to experience this, but I think each of us on this call are here because we had that moment where like things cracked open, and here I go. and things crack open, and you're just like, oh my God, there's so much beauty here. There's so much goodness. And I think we've all had that moment, which is why we keep coming back together, why we keep cultivating these relationships, why they're so special. And I sat on a bus ride from, I don't know, Vrindavan maybe to Rishikesh or home for 22 hours or whatever it was. And I said to Keshavi, I said, I heard about Food for Lives like a year ago. I never did it. I think I'm just going to come like once a week and just see what it's all about. And so upon coming home that first Sunday, I came and just watched and served, and I've almost made it every Sunday since. Because again, there is this need that's tremendous beyond belief, but the ability to spend time with people from the Connecticut Food for Lives and the Sangha and the people in Connecticut that need just somebody to acknowledge that, never mind feed them because they all need that too, but just to acknowledge that we see them. And I think the unhoused and unfed, and as often as we can feel unseen in our lives, I can't imagine the level that they feel or may never have the opportunity to feel that they've been seen. And so that has brought, again, these relationships deeper, the people who come every week who, some of these people, we're the only people they have. And to be able to create space in my own life with my own relationships with my family, they're my people, they're my unit, but I need time away from them so that I can then come back renewed and filled and refreshed and heart-centered. So to find that space, even if it's just for a few hours on a Sunday, with the people who come to help serve and to help others who need us, and then return back to the people who continue to fill my well. It's where I get lost in my heart, which helps me be better at everything else that's important, if that makes any sense. It's where I find my space, whether it be then at, a Sunday Food for Lives or a kirtan or, a Red Barn retreat or what have you. It's where in between all that, I find my space so that my heart is full, so that I can give more while feeling like I have enough. I can give back to myself, which is something that is a total work in progress. Gives me time to exhale. I'm really good at inhaling, but it gives me the space to exhale and take that in breath with the out breath. and just come back to life as a better me and from a higher space and a higher place. And gathering in Veda, like you said, that idea of reflection. Like you're, of course, immediately I thought of the banks of the Ganges River, which I literally never wanted to leave. But, being on the banks of a clear crystal, even, water, and who are the people around you that reflect back upon you? And how many people get the chance to say, like, all these beautiful people right here, and all the beautiful people who haven't made it to Saturday, but we know are coming next week or whenever, like, we all get to look at our reflection, and we all get to be filled and renewed and uplifted by the reflections that I see in all of you. Like, what a blessing, what a gift, what like, how cool is that? um so yeah, so like full circle, it comes from finding that space to give, to renew, to give, to renew, to share, to give back to me, to give more to others. And the more I spend time with like-minded people who are positive, who are come from the same kindness and safeness, the more vulnerable and then safe I can feel, and share that, and be connected with my heart and with the divine, and work on all those obstacles of the restless mind and the distracted mind and the stupefied mind, and come back to that one point of focus of my heart, sharing it, having it uplifted by all of you, giving what I can back to people who need so much, and focusing on love and divinity. I mean, it's everywhere you look, and the more you find it, the more places you find it. And I'm just so grateful. I'm like grateful beyond words. So I'm gonna go cry now because that's what I do.
Spiritual tears. Thank you, Liz. Well,
Thank,
we have anyone else?
thank you so much, Liz. Yes, we have Luke from Connecticut also.
Oh, Luke.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So yeah, I took some time on walking my dog, and once I found out I was going to share, I wanted to sit down and find a quiet place and just write a couple things down. But we touched on so many things today that are really relevant in my life. Starting with just distance, and at a young age, I was able to consciously cut people out of my life, and not because they were doing anything wrong, but I was just seeing visions of what I wanted my life to be and who I wanted to be. And I stopped drinking alcohol at a young age, and that alone just started isolating me naturally. I stopped going out, and outside of my work life I wasn't really doing much socially. I spent a lot of time reading and studying and watching YouTube videos of I'm big on philosophy and studying different religions, and just really love learning, especially, in spirituality. There's so many different topics and discussions. So that would fill my time, and I found a lot of peace there. And one of the biggest lessons for me after going through like a lot of loneliness and grief was learning that we can never truly be alone. This life, there's so much universal love at all times accessible to us. So just starting to really work on my relationship with God and with the divine, and realizing that my ancestors and my loved ones who have passed away are always with me, always present. And so just getting comfortable being alone, because once you're alone, you can start to, it's like having that distance with all your relationships where you can step back and you can start to, start to see what things you can heal, what patterns and loops keep coming up in your life, in relationships with people, relationships with food, with substances, everything is a relationship. And the most important relationship in the world is the relationship you have with yourself. Everything is going to stem from that. And second to that is your relationship with God. So, creating distance has definitely helped me. Eventually I ended up getting a dog. So, then I had some type of, physical, presence around me that would keep me more. It just allowed me to continue to, you know, follow this path, but also have a connection to this beautiful soul that's always here, and that is the example of just unconditional love. I mean, just being around her and coming home from work, and she's just always consistent with her love for me and her appreciation for me. And Liz mentioned self-sabotage, and I think any human being can just agree that they've had so many just confusing moments in life and tough times where it feels like we're just self-inflicting all the suffering and the pain that we're causing ourselves through our actions and our choices. And the practice of bhakti yoga finding me this past year has really helped me, because my favorite so last week we had talked about surrender, and my favorite practice has been chanting. And the reason chanting is so important to me, because it allows me to surrender to the mercy of Krishna. It allows me to surrender to my heart, to get out of the mind. And Veda talks about, we want to have a focused mind, focused on one thing. And the only thing I focus on when I chant is love and feeling love. And then just thinking, how can I serve the world? How can I serve Krishna? And so I just keep surrendering to Krishna's mercy, and to offer my life. I try and make an offering every day to just be of service and just keep offering my life. And as soon as desires come up for, oh, I want to do this or this, I just keep offering it and letting it go, and just really focus on non-attachment, because I've learned that attachment to desires and wanting certain outcomes or whatever, that's the biggest cause to all my suffering, at least, is trying to control my life, trying to basically, yeah, just control the outcomes that my actions are causing. So life is always easier when I surrender, and the best thing that has helped me do that on a daily to day basis is just is singing and chanting and sinking into my heart. And then it allows me to go into the workplace where I'm around so many people, and I operate from my heart there, and I just see how I can serve customers, how I can serve employees. And I just start to really focus on that lens of love, where all of a sudden, I'm meeting strangers, just having like a quick encounter, but I'm like falling in love with that person, because I'm only seeing the beauty in them, and just I'm seeing God through my interactions, through the smiles, through the conversations, the synchronicities. And it's a really beautiful thing, because I think we all have the power to have a lens of love. I mean, um, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, and that's something I've always kind of held true to, because whether I'm seeing love or I'm seeing hate, it's me. It's my lens. It's nobody else. It's not the external world. It's my internal reality. So I just want to say that we all have the power to consciously, live our lives in a way where we can see love all around us in all beings. I mean, I'm sitting down right now and just looking at my dog, looking at trees and the skies and the clouds. I mean, there's so much love here. It could be just watching squirrels run around playing tag, or birds communicating with each other. Like, nature really is the perfect reflection of just the universal magic that's going on in every moment. Like, if we really slow down our lives and create distance and take time for ourselves to go into the heart and just be an observer, instead of always trying to people are always texting us, and there's always so many distractions. We don't really get to always have moments of solitude. But I would encourage anyone to, if you're doing a daily practice, or whenever you have a chance, to just sit down in your heart and just listen. Especially if it's outside, nature just offers so many magical moments of quiet, peaceful, just love, really. And I want to see if is there anything else I had. Oh, and then yeah, so we all have practices, and I'd say the hardest challenge for us would be, um spiritual seekers like we are, is transferring, that love and connection that we feel in our practice. Yeah, it is transferring that to the real world, because most of us probably have jobs that we have to show up to, or we have family dynamics and other type of relationships where it's a practice to transfer. When I was with Liz in India, she had mentioned this book called, it was about yoga, and it was just about, yoga isn't just what you do on the mat. It's about, transferring that into everyday life, into everyday interactions with people. And then your whole life becomes a meditative practice. Every interaction is very important, because you can just be the ripple of God's love, in every interaction that you have with people. You can be that little, that pebble or drop in the ocean that just, if you're acting from the heart, only good can come from it. So I would just encourage everyone to just continue to love yourself and work on loving yourself, and trust that in the surrender and allowance of that, you're able to serve God. You're able to fulfill your highest, vibrational possibilities.
Thank you so much, Luke. So nice for you to share. So, Keshavi, do we have any takeaways for today? I mean, not takeaways, any housekeeping announcements?
Uh, Thank you guys for sharing. There was actually a question in the chat. I'm not sure if you answered it already. I don't think so, but Geet was asking, could you please share more on what should be the content of relationship?
Yeah, very good question. Okay. So the content of relationships is really, first has to be analyzed what your intention is. What is it that you want out of life? What'll give you something that is permanent? You can ask yourself this question every single day. What is it that I'm doing for me that is permanent? If you ask yourself this question, you'll have the right direction to find what the content should be, because it'll put you in the right direction of your intent. Because we all know that everything in this material world has an expiry date. When something is packaged in the factory, they have to put an expiry date on it. So when we come into this world, there's an expiry date put on it. We just don't know. Because this body has an expiry date. But what doesn't have an expiry date is the spirit soul that is permanent, that is eternal. So if we ask ourselves this question, what is it that I'm doing for myself that is permanent? When you work, you're going to get money, you're going to get something. That's whatever you acquire in this world, it's going to be taken away from you. Whether you like it or not, it's just the nature of the world that everything is taken away from us. And so therefore, if the question is asked, what is it that I'm doing for me that is permanent every single day? Then you'll be able to find out that you need to do something for your spiritual life. You need to do something to cultivate the inner sanctuary of the heart, where this transcendental divine couple, the embodiment of transcendental, pure, unconditional, eternal spiritual love, Radha and Shyam, the energy of Radha, energy of Govinda or Sham, this divine feminine, the divine masculine, they have a beautiful space in the heart to create a space for them in the innermost spaces of our heart. That is what the sages are recommending, that eventually when you ask this question, you will start to find something that is permanent, that goes beyond the warranty date of this material body, beyond the warranty of this material body. So Geet, I'm sure you know how to access your heart, and I'm sure you'll be able to dig very deep into your heart and really find out what is it that's permanent in your life. And the yoga also helps to answer that by saying, we are always permanent, but to understand and realize that permanency, that takes sadhana, where we'll actually be able to realize it. Realizations come from deep spiritual introspection. You'll notice that words we speak, it is a reflection, a small reflection of our thoughts. Words that we speak are a small reflection of our thoughts that are somewhat arranged for time, place, and circumstances. But when you do sadhana, you will realize that the words that come out of your mouth from this deep sense of spiritual realization, that are life-changing. It'll change your life and it will change the lives of anybody around you. Because those realizations are something that you have accessed by divine intervention. So, in that process of realization, there is an ascending process and there is a descending process, which means we make the effort of our sadhana to have access. And then the divine within the heart is also reaching out to bring you closer to the heart. And that's where the realization happens, when that connection happens between our effort and grace, between our relationship with the individual soul and the Supreme Soul. So thank you so much. I don't know if that answered your question at all, Geet, but I hope a little bit.
It did. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It is always such a joy to be with each and every one of you. And I look forward every single Saturday. I look forward to the Saturday to get on this Sangha. So please invite each and every one of your friends, people you know, people that you do not know. Let us all grow together. Let us all cultivate this bhakti in our heart. Okay, thank you.